How many of you have been to Oklahoma City? How many of you have not been to Oklahoma City and have no idea who I am? Most of you. Let me give you some background. Mick Cornett, currently the mayor of Oklahoma City, gives a speech entitled, "How an Obese Town Lost $1 Million." It's quite inspirational. It really gives a unique message about healthy living. It almost puts you into a first-person perspective as you will listen. It goes a little something like this. In 2004, the citizens elected me mayor. Now, the city I inherited was just on the verge of coming out of its slumbering economy. For the very first time, it started showing up on the lists. Now, you know the lists I'm talking about. The internet and the media, they love to rank cities. And in Oklahoma City, we had never really been on the lists before. So I thought it was kind of cool when they came out with these positive lists, and we were on there. Now, we were nowhere near the top, but we were on that list. We were somebody. Best city to get a job, best downtown, best city to start a business, Oklahoma City. And then came the list of the most obese towns in the country. There we were. Now, I'd like to point out that we were on that list with a bunch of really cool places. Houston and Dallas and Miami and Atlanta and New Orleans. You know, these are cities that you're not usually embarrassed to be associated with. But, nevertheless, I didn't like being on that list. So, I stepped on the scales. I weighed 220 pounds. Then I went on a website sponsored by the federal government. I typed in my height, my weight, and I pressed enter. It came back as obese. I was like, hey, I'm not obese. I would know if I'm obese. But then I started to get honest with myself and what had become my lifelong struggle with obesity. And noticed this pattern that every year or so I would gain about 2 or 3 pounds. Then every 10 years I'd drop about 20 or 30 pounds. And I finally decided I need to lose some weight. And I knew I could do it because I'd done it so many times before. So I simply stopped eating so much. I'd always exercised. That was never really part of the equation. But I was eating 3,000 calories a day. I cut that down to about 2,000 calories a day. And the weight came off. I lost a pound a week for 40 weeks. Along the way though, I started to examine my city, its infrastructure, its culture, and specifically why our city seemed to have a problem with obesity. And as I was taking all these elements and components into my brain, the first thing I thought was, we need to have a conversation. Well, that's when all hell broke loose. The national media gravitated on this immediately. They really could have taken this in 2 ways. They could have said, this city is so fat that the mayor had to put them on a diet. But luckily the consensus was, look, this is a problem in a lot of places. This city is willing to do something about it. And so they helped drive traffic to our website. Now, the web address was thiscityisgoingonadiet.com. And the next day I appeared on the Ellen show. And there I talked about the initiative. And on that very day, 150,000 visits were placed on our website. People were signing up, and the pounds were trying to stack up. And the conversation that I thought was so important to have was finally taking place. And then came the next step of the equation. It was time to push what I called MAPS 3. We've added a new Central Park, 70 acres in size, right downtown in Oklahoma City. We're building a downtown streetcar to help the walkability formula for those who live in the inner city and choose to create density there. We're building health centers and wellness centers all throughout the community. We also, through yet another initiative, are building hundreds of miles of sidewalks all throughout the metro area. Through yet another initiative, we are completely redesigning all of our inner street roads to become much more pedestrian friendly. You see, our streets were really wide, so when you push the button to walk across, you really have to run across just to get there in time. But now we've narrowed these streets, completely redesigned them, and really rethought our infrastructure so that it revolves around people, not cars. And so you start to see this cultural shift in Oklahoma City. And the results of it are very inspiring. In May of 2012, I flew to New York with some of our participants who had lost over 100 pounds, whose lives had changed. And we appeared on the Rachel Ray Show to talk about this. After that, I did a round with the media, telling them the things you're accustomed to hearing about obesity and the struggles and problems of it. But then, I went into the men's lobby of the Men's Fitness magazine, and I'm sitting there waiting to talk to the reporter. I look down. I see a magazine, and I pick it up. At that moment, I realized this is the same magazine that had put us on that list 5 years ago. And the headline reads, America's Fattest Cities. Do you live in one? Well, I knew I did. So I opened it up. And I'm reading the list and I realize we weren't on it. Then I flip a couple of pages. I find the list of the fittest cities, and we were on that list. We were ranked the 22nd fittest city in the United States of America. Our state health statistics are doing much better now. Granted, we still have a long way to go. Health is still not something we should be proud of in Oklahoma City, but we seem to have made health a much greater priority. Thank you.